I have the honor and a bit of fun today coming up because we have Abby Beck, and she has a long history in the finance world and in the spiritual world. She's got a touch of that as well. And a lot of things have happened over those first 50 years of life. You live life and you go through these life passages, and Abby Beck has some great stories to share with us. Abby's right now your chief executive officer and chaplain of M3 Veritas, and also the chief operations officer of M3 with your husband, and
Right.
how that's been growing into what you'd call a private business community, how you bring the right people together to create that synergy. So, Abby, could you share us a little bit about how you grow up, the family, about your
Well,
parents a little bit?
thank
Yeah,
you for having me today. I want to thank you sincerely for having me on the show. And hello, everybody. It's so good to be here. And I grew up in obviously in England. You can probably hear from the accent. My
right.
parents were pastors, and so I grew up in the church. And gosh, I could not wait to get away from the church. When I hit 18, I hit the ground running. I was like Fred Flintstone in a little car. It was like I was. And so basically, what actually happened was my parents wanted me to be a pastor or a doctor or something of that type. And I ended up on the British equivalent of Wall Street. I was the first female chief trader in London and ended up working originally for a bank called the Banque Nationale de Paris, and then eventually for a Japanese bank, which is where I became the chief dealer. And that was the Bank of Tokyo Trust Company in London. And I was called over to the States with my then husband, my late husband, who had a job over here at the Banque Nationale de Paris in New York City. And so I went to work for broking houses there. And gosh, I loved it. It really suited me. But every time I got a promotion, my poor dad would get down on his knees and start praying for me because he, like the Wolf of Wall Street, he knew it was a pretty ungodly world. And so he was worried about his little 4'11" daughter in that environment. But I thrived. It wasn't always easy. I was one of the original women that was on Wall Street, and we weren't always liked. You win your way, you earn the respect. And I had a wonderful time doing that till just shortly before 9/11.
You had a real good story about as you were introduced in Wall Street here about the guys, about the fact they're saying a few things about, oh, this girl's not going to last long. That whole line that you had to go through. What's that story?
I trotted onto the trading floor, and as I said, I'm little, I'm 4'11". And back in those days, I was probably 100 pounds soaking wet. And I trotted onto the trading floor in my high heels and my little suit. And initially, they said to me, "Oh, the girls are around the back." And I went, "What girls? What's around the back?" And they said, "Oh, the back office girls." And I said, "Oh, no, I'm not back office. I'm a broker." And they all looked at each other and they rolled their eyes a little bit. And then somebody out of the corner of their mouth went, "Bimbo." And I did look a little bit like a Barbie in those days, but I have a brain and I was there for a reason. And then somebody whispered, "I think she's our boss from London." And that didn't go down very well. But as I said, I earned my way eventually. It was spent large periods of time trying to make myself understood, especially with the accent, that initially I had to enunciate very clearly so that people would understand my numbers and working that way. But I had a blast working in foreign exchange.
So you made the adjustment quite well from that point of view. And when you have to earn your way, these were during the years of really when it was prevalent, so many companies had a glass ceiling.
Oh, it was the
And you
last year.
broke right through that. So you're one of those pioneers, actually. And I wanted to share that with the audience that you're rare.
I
Now,
didn't see the glass ceiling, Mike. I was maybe too stupid.
yeah,
Yeah, I
well,
did. It was just, I had a goal in mind and I was going places and I really cared about the people I worked with too. Some part of me always carried my parents with me. And so I was always like concerned about the guys I worked with. And I was a snack mom working there on Wall Street, but I had a lot of fun doing it. And it was heartbreaking for me to eventually have to walk away from that.
tell us a little bit about the story about what led to having to walk away. What was that part of your life journey there?
Yeah, I'd actually started to work for another company. I was working for Dun& and Bradstreet and I had
Okay.
moved back to interview with a company that was in the World Trade Center. And I was due to interview with them, and the interview was set for the 13th of September, 2001. And of course, we all know what happened on 9/11. And for me, heartbreaking. I was glued to the television all day. I had no idea where my husband was. My daughter was in Pittsburgh at university. I had no idea where she was. And I was watching people jumping from the windows, and I knew that they were people I knew. It was hard because I lost over 1,000 colleagues that day. And I know it was hard for everybody. It wasn't just hard for me, but it was a very difficult time. And I just didn't want to go back. It wasn't fear. I just felt like it was a come to Jesus meeting of a sorts, if you like. I suddenly realized that my life could have been over, and my husband's on the same day, and we would have left our children, and we weren't spending enough time with the children. We weren't spending enough time with each other. And so we turned our lives around completely at that point. We moved out to Arizona. We cashed in all of our investments and we moved out here to Arizona and started a new life. And for me, ultimately, that led to my work in the Salvation Army and the nonprofit world. I was so impressed with the Salvation Army on the days and weeks and months after 9/11. They were one of the first agencies there. They were the last to leave almost 2 years later. They were washing the feet of the firemen, putting fresh socks on them, and sending them back into the building. And it was impressive. And I thought, that's what I want to do. I want to spend my life serving.
It brings you back to your religious roots as well, the spiritual self, where that part of you. You got the nurturing character just because you cared in the beginning, and you what you shared with us there, that you actually were nurturing the guys along, helping them, and showing that you care. And that's something that men don't always see.
Yeah.
And when they get it, they may not even tell you how they feel about it, because us guys don't really show our emotions that much. But I could tell you, it hits the heart, hits the mind. You've done some good there for sure.
Thank you.
So Arizona was a whole new chapter.
Yeah.
Whole,
Yeah.
uh,
I decided, because the Salvation Army was what I grew up in, it was where my parents was, and it's what I'd seen. They're usually first on the scene when there's any kind of natural disaster. And I literally presented myself there one day and I said, "Hey, what jobs do you have? I'll do anything." There was a job working as an admin, which was very different to anything I'd done. And I got the interview for the admin job, and I went to the interview and they said to me, "You have a very impressive resume." And I said, "Oh, thank you." I have never been an admin, so I was clueless about that, but I was hoping to bluff my way through. And they said to me, "What were you earning on Wall Street?" And I went, "Oh, no, you don't want to know." And they said, "Oh,
yeah.
no, you really don't." And they persisted. And so I told them, and they went, gulp. And then they said, "You're going to earn $13 an hour. Is that going to be okay?" And I said, "That's going to be great, because you know what? An organization like yours, if you were paying your staff big salaries, I wouldn't be here." And so I loved what I did. I eventually trained with them to CIBC, critical incident and stress management. I was working at Ground Zero. I was able to do that. I also trained to be a chaplain. And I worked with the major gift department as a development director out in York, in Pennsylvania too, when I traveled from Arizona back to. In 2015, I lost my late husband to cancer. And to make a long story short, I eventually became engaged to my late husband's best friend, which was Joe Beck. And so I traveled to Pennsylvania and went to work for the Salvation Army out in York, PA, which was, again, a wonderful, heartwarming experience out there.
Wow, that's quite a little bit of a history. And we all felt the tragedy of 9/11. And a lot of us, people across the country, I think it was a spiritual moment, from the sense of family's more important. I thought I had all the time in the world, and really, there's no time to do things that you don't have a purpose in. So a lot of people found their purpose after 9/11 because they started paying attention to it more so than the money.
Yeah.
So that is, I think, what you discovered as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about that. And just to carry on with that story just a little bit, I love
Mhm.
PA. It is beautiful, and I certainly would not insult any of my friends out in the Pennsylvania area, but it's very rainy. And that was what I'd escaped when I came over to America from England. And so after a while, when my husband's youngest child went to college, I said, okay, any chance we can move back to Arizona? And thankfully, he was able to agree to that. So we came back to Arizona and we started working together. And the rest, as they say, is history.
It's all in the making too, the future. For
Yeah.
sure. I know M3, the community, and I've met a lot of people there myself. Are just high caliber people that you would want to have in a mastermind because you can't do everything yourself.
Yeah.
And when you can bring people of that caliber together in a mastermind kind of thing, you meet them through the forum, then you get into a mastermind, and then you really can move forward in your business
Yeah.
and maybe even your life too. There's
You
that.
know, I was going to say that masterminds are life changing. Not only do we credit our mastermind with being able to pivot during 2020, but I would say we now offer it with every level of membership because we have found that it is life changing. It is wonderful for people to have that sense of not just camaraderie, but they have that experiential help, that mentoring up and down coming in around them. And one of the things I found about M3 and in particular the masterminds is people are very willing to come alongside you. And that for us was, as I said, very pivotal. And so consequently, when we started working with M3Linked and we took over the brand, we decided that masterminds were actually going to be offered free with every level of membership.
You can certainly see the importance of it and how much it helps people when they can get together once a month and spend a half a day together and really you get to know each other. And a lot of business can happen that way. It might not be the person sitting across from you at the table, it would be who they know. Because
Exactly.
now they got to know you at a level that is that you got to know, trust, and that takes a lot of time. And it takes effort and it takes a little bit of commitment to get to know each other. And in this fast-paced world, you just take that one half day a month and it can advance your career, advance your spirit, your lifestyle, because you've got people that are starting to believe in you and what you're doing and are there to help you. You never know what you don't know.
Relationships. I think even
Yeah.
relationships have been rescued as a result.
Yes.
And
I
you
can
know,
see
we
that.
always
Yeah.
say to people, don't offer advice in the traditional sense. Always offer experiential advice because it's so much more helpful to have somebody say, that happened to me 2 years ago, and this is what we did, and this is how it turned out. And that's so much more useful to people because you know when you've got 10 people in a room and or online and everybody does something different because of course when we have a mastermind everybody has to be from a different walk in the business ecosystem. No two are alike, and so you're able to dive deep into each other's business and offer that experiential advice to each person there by doing those deep dives. And a lot of times a lot of stuff comes out of you. There's an opportunity for a lot of things that you're grieving about or worrying about, or difficulties with your children, or difficulties with even a spouse or a business partner, or any of those things that can be discussed in absolute privacy. Everybody, of course, signs an NDA, and those masterminds they're solid gold for a lot of people.
So instead of staying in Vegas, it's staying within the M3, the mastermind. That's for sure. Now, M3 has three M's in it, obviously. And one is talking about a person's mastery.
Yes.
And I see that when people get introduced, a little bit of their mastery is featured in their introduction as they're being introduced. And then it gets into what is it? It's a mission. What
The,
is your mission? And then, of course, is it motivation? I think the
the
third one is
motivation
motivation.
is what they hope to get out of the community, of course. And so at
Yeah,
that point,
yeah.
they're able to I'm looking for new connections, or I'm looking for new business. I'm looking for friendships. I'm looking for funding. And that's one we hear a lot, that I'm in a growth phase. I'm looking for funding. And of course, we
Yeah.
do very strictly adhere to SEC regulations, but you are able to say that come see me if you are interested in coming alongside us and helping us to fund this next project.
Oh, very good. Yeah, that kind of nails it. It's the whole idea of getting fresh energy back into you.
Mhm.
That's another way of saying the same thing, I think. Now, I want to take you to what you have started because you have put together another M3 group that is not the one in Dallas or New York or Philadelphia or Tampa or Las Vegas or LA, because there's groups all over the country that are part of M3. But this is something different. This is something called M3 Veritas, as I understand it. And this is a Christian group of people coming together to help each other. And I understand you just had an event recently, one of the first events.
We had, excuse me, I'm sorry, our fifth event yesterday, and that included, it was actually our speaker was Cheryl Cooper. She's, of course, the wife of Hall of Famer Alice Cooper. And we were all thrilled to find that Alice dropped in with her. And it was a wonderful meeting, and they spoke eloquently about what they do and their walk in life, and also their testimony, because of course they've been Christians for a very long time and right here in Phoenix, and they are well known in this area for the solid rock.
Oh, that's working with teenagers, is it?
That is, it's working with teenagers, local teenagers, creative teenagers. Oftentimes it's dance and acting and just wonderful creative things. And they created this safe space for all teenagers to go to.
I think what you're doing and what you've accomplished with Joe, your husband, is something very special. It's building community, and if there's ever a time in American history where community matters, it's now. It really is. Small business, medium business, people that have raised billions of dollars and done all kinds of crazy stuff are part of M3. You can meet such a caliber of people to get help.
Yeah.
So certainly we'd love to interview people and see just if this is a fit, maybe bring you on as a guest to see what an M3 community is like. I know that's available to people. I wanted to mention that. But what's the future look like as far as the things that you're adding to M3 just
Um,
to help people flourish out there? What do you have
my
going
goodness,
on there?
right. We're getting huge. We are, when we took over a year ago, February, we went from 5 locations to 8 locations and then 9 locations with the Christian location.
Ah,
And of course, we are hoping to be in every state in the country in the next few years. We're getting ready to open in the Caribbean. So that's going to be really exciting. India is also looking at us at this point, and we are looking to go beyond our borders, as well as expanding into each of the different areas in the country. We're also expanding in various products. We recently, Joe and Beck talked about it today, April 15th is the launch of M3 Intensive. And M3 Intensive is basically a learning management platform. And that's going to be a resource for all of our members. They'll be able to find coursework and books and podcasts and all kinds of good stuff. And of course, it's all put there by subject matter experts. So it's really there to help our members to grow and to really flourish in the business world. And of course, our business people are people that come apart from all parts of the business ecosystem, but some of them are entrepreneurs, some of them are solopreneurs. And they're doing everything themselves. And so they're trying to pick up information, to learn how to do certain things. We're hoping that this will be a really great space that they can come to and get that information they need.
that's awesome. That's going to be a massive resource. I see that you do have a few members that are in business coaching, life coaching in this whole area, and they seem to have be at different levels, which means you could find the right person for just what you need help with.
Right.
And if you want to advance yourself, the mastermind's one thing, but if you need something on a personal level, you can find life coaches, business coaches that can really turn up
All
your
kinds of
results.
influences. One of the things that I would stress to people is they have to come and see M3Linked, because it's not something you can describe, right? It really isn't. It is a state of the art platform. It is streets ahead of some of the platforms that are out there. And we're providing those experiences and opportunities for business leaders and entrepreneurs to collaborate. They're exchanging ideas in this safe space. And it obviously it results in meaningful professional relationships, but we've also seen
Ah, yeah.
very visible growth in many of these businesses. And that's despite the somewhat difficult economy right now. So I know that people can say, oh, it's just another networking group. Let me tell you, you have to come and see this thing. And you come once and you will know why we have so many people flocking to these groups.
They're coming because of the camaraderie, the help you can get, and there's safety in numbers when you've got a group together working together. If there's an economic downturn, you want to be part of a business community that helps each other. So look ahead, even that way. I'll put a link into the description for getting onto the M3 site and checking out the different locations and applying to become a guest. Make it real easy for everyone.
It's real simple website as well. It's just M3.com, M3Linked.com.
That's the number three. Very good. I want to thank you for the time today. I think we learned a lot about M3. That was one of the goals, is what you're doing now. But it was also to know a bit about who Abby really is and what she's been through and where her heart is and where Christianity fills in her life
Mm.
as being a spiritual person.
You know,
You just glow
I
from the
said to you,
inside out.
I am
Yeah.
loud and proud about my faith and about my love of Jesus Christ. And so when we procured this brand, it was really on my heart. And I took it to my husband and we prayed about it. And we decided that M3 Veritas was definitely something we needed to do, that we needed to create a safe space where we could nurture Christian entrepreneurs as well. And so that's been a wonderful thing for us. We've been open now 5 months. And
Oh,
more and more people are joining us every month. We always have wonderful featured speakers. And as you said yourself yesterday, of course, it was Cheryl and Alice Cooper. And next month as well, it's going to be a wonderful speaker on May 8th. But yeah, I would really challenge people to take a look at m3link.com because there's so much stuff for everybody. And if anyone is interested in opening a community, we're always looking for community leaders
oh,
around the
you are.
country. There's only two of
Yeah.
us. We can't be in every space. And so we're looking for those community leaders. Please consider contacting me. I'd be happy to talk to you more about that.
Fantastic. Thank you, Abby. This has been a great time today, and to get to know a little bit more about what's going on with you, what's going on with M3. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Mike.